Have you ever wondered why your body suddenly heats up when you are sick? Like, just imagine this and just think about this logically. Whenever a pathogen is entered, that pathogen has that for pathogen, foreign substance, virus, bacteria, etc. Whatever it has done something crazy inside your body. My body should protect me against that pathogen, but instead of this, instead of doing its job, instead of protecting me, it just increases its temperature, right? And it gives me some uncomfortable feeling. My body should not do this, right? So why my body is reacting in this way? Why my body increasing its temperature in response to pathogens? And what is pyrexia? Right? Like, you are freezing but your temperature is actually rising. Let's break it down. What is extremely and really amazing, right? It's like a smart move that your body is playing against the pathogen. Before we move on, I think we should knock this and break this word down. Pyrexia. Pyrexia literally means, I think it's a Greek word. It means, pyro mean fire and exia mean condition. So pyrexia literally means condition. Condition. Let me just write it down neat and clean. Condition of heat, right? Or fever. Fever literally means body is heat, right? So condition of heat or fever is pyrexia. Now, why my body is increasing temperature in response to pathogens, that's another topic, right? But first of all, I think I should give you a brief summary of what's the actual phenomena mechanism that is involved. Now, how it all starts, it begins when a pathogen like bacteria, virus, or any foreign substance enters your body. So a pathogen when enters in your body, it releases some chemicals, like it can be lipopolysaccharides, like in case of gram negative bacteria, it can be any kind of toxin, enzyme, etc. Whatsoever pathogen has entered inside your body, right? That pathogen then releases chemicals that are called exogenous pyrogens. Exogenous pyrogens. Now, pyrogens are substances that induces pyrexia, that increases body's temperature, right? These are pyrogens. And exogenous, meaning to say the pathogen has entered from outside, right? From outside your body, from the environment. So that's why we are calling it exogenous pyrogens, because they are inducing pyrexia. So exogenous pyrogens, for example, bacterial toxins, etc. Now, when these chemicals are released, your immune system reacts. Your white blood cells, especially like macrophages and neutrophils, they attack the invaders through phagocytosis. What is phagocytosis? They literally engulf, they literally eat the pathogen, right? So, in response to these exogenous pyrogens, your white blood cells, and I'm talking about phagocytic cells that do induces and they do phagocytosis. They engulf the pathogen in the process called phagocytosis, which is literally eating the which is literally the process of eating and engulfing the pathogen. Phagocytosis. Now, after that, they release these, for example, macrophages. Macrophages. This is, for example, a macrophage, right? This macrophage has engulfed the pathogen, and after engulfing the pathogen, it becomes antigen presenting cell. It becomes antigen presenting cell. These are the antigens of the pathogen. Look, again, this is the topic of immunity, but I'm not going to dig deep, like what are antigen presenting cells. But just to give you a brief introduction, look, a pathogen when a pathogen enters your body, right, these pathogen have receptors on its cell membrane, right? These receptors and some glycoproteins, glycolipids, etc. These receptors that these conjugated molecules that are receptor for that bacteria are basically antigen for us. Like antigen literally means antibody generating substances. When this pathogen has entered my body, the receptors of that pathogen, of that foreign substance, of that foreign particle are like they induces antibody protection production inside my body, right? And why and how it induces the antibody production? Because my body recognizes the receptor that are present on the cell membrane, and these, because of these receptors, my body thinks that, all right, this is not my cell, this is a foreign cell, right? This is a foreign particle, and if it's a foreign particle, it's dangerous for me, it's an enemy for me, so I should engulf it, I should destroy it, right? And so that's why the receptor, the conjugated molecules that were receptor for that bacteria becomes antigen for my body, because they induces the antibody production. Now after the macrophages has engulfed this pathogen, right, they induces and they appear these antigens, right, on its surface. Why? Because in order to tell my body, in order to tell my other cells, for example T lymphocytes, macrophages literally talk to T lymphocytes, and there is a bro conversation taking place. Macrophages is telling the T lymphocytes that, all right, this is the foreign substances that no just imagine this. Macrophages are, literally telling the fight story to T lymphocytes. Macrophages are telling the T lymphocytes that, all right, a big pathogen had entered my body and I fought against it, and then I engulf it, literally I ingested it, and the T lymphocyte are literally saying that, all right, I wasn't here, so give me some proof that you had engulfed the pathogen. So macrophages then do what? They represent that antigens, right, of that pathogens on a surface, and tell the T lymphocytes that, all right, that was the foreign substance. If you find this substance, this bacteria, this pathogen anywhere inside the body, just destroy it, right? So it become antigen presenting cells. Now that was the concept. So they release endogenous, let me use a different color, pink is good, endogenous pyrogens. Pyrogens are substances that induce pyrexia, that increase the body temperature. For example, interleukin 1, interleukin 6, for example, tumor necrosis factor. So these all are the endogenous pyrogens, right, that will induce pyrexia. And why I'm calling it endogenous? Because my own body cell has released these chemicals, right? Now these endogenous pyrogens, they will go to hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a part of my forebrain. My brain is functionally divided into three loops, right? I have into four parts: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Now, hypothalamus is a part of my forebrain. Here is a cross section of my brain. Uh, so this is thalamus, right? This is my thalamus. Let me use this highlighter instead, right? It will be much good. All right, so this is my thalamus, this is my lateral lateral ventricles that are two in number, and this is hypothalamus, right? So hypo means below, so this structure is just literally below the thalamus. That's why below the thalamus, and thalamus is your brain's relay center. So it's, this structure is below the thalamus, that's why it's calling, that's why I'm naming it hypothalamus. Now hypothalamus has different parts. For example, this is for example, let's say if this is hypothalamus, then this is anterior hypothalamus, and this is posterior hypothalamus, right? Now, here's the important thing. The anterior hypothalamic part is the part of your hypothalamus that has the preoptic area. Hypothalamic preoptic area. Now, this is literally the correct diagram, right? As you can see here, and this is the preoptic area of the hypothalamus. Now, this preoptic area of hypothalamus that is in the anterior hypothalamus. Now, this preoptic area has the set point of your body normal temperature. All right, the body's normal temperature, that all right, this is the normal body temperature range, and your body temperature should be in this range. If it increases and it go above this range, then I will induce certain physiological, behavioral, psychological responses. And if the temperature goes below this range, right, I will induce again some behavioral, psychological, physiological changes that will increase my temperature, and it will keep it within the normal physiological range. Now, now why I'm calling it preoptic area, because literally this is because of the optic chiasm. Now, optic chiasm, this is because this hypothalamic preoptic area is anterior to this optic chiasm, right? Optic chiasm is where my both nerves from my eyes are just making a cross. All right, so they are crossing there, and my this hypothalamic preoptic area is in front of is anterior to this area. That's why I'm calling it hypothalamic preoptic area, right? Now, remember, so just remember, the thalamus is the brain's relay station, right? And below that thalamus we have hypothalamus, that is the control center for temperature and homeostasis. Hypothalamus is an extremely important part of your brain, bro. It's an extremely important part of, because it is controlling a lot of function of your body, right, that you are not even aware of. All right, so the set point, because now what is happening, these endogenous pyrogens, with the help of blood, they go to your hypothalamic preoptic area. All right, and normally your body temperature is about 37 degrees Celsius, right? And in Fahrenheit it's 98.6 Fahrenheit, right? With a small normal range. You have your body doesn't, you know, have a fixed temperature. It has a set point controlled by hypothalamus, right? It has a normal range. Your body does not restrict your body temperature to, a fixed value. No, your body has a normal range, and that normal range is 36.5 to 37.5 degree Celsius, right? This is the normal range of your body's temperature, right? And your body temperature is around this range, right? And different bodies part can have different temperature with respect to each other, but the temperature will vary in this range, is in this physiological range. For example, the rectal temperature, right, is usually higher than oral temperature by about, you know zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.6 degrees Celsius, right? So my temperature can vary, but my body tries its best to keep the temperature, not just tries its best, it keeps my temperature in this normal range, in this normal physiological range, right? So when these endopyrogens, they go to your anterior hypothalamus, and more specifically the preoptic area of your anterior hypothalamus, these pyrogens raises that set point. So your body basically thinks that, oh no, we are cold, right? So even though you are actually not, because your set point has increased, right? That's why you feel like, oh, you are cold, right? I should you my body is under hypothermia, so I should increase my temperature, I should induce the responses, I should induce the physiological, psychological, or behavioral responses in order to increase my temperature, which is even though you are not actually, right? But because the set point has increased, because the degree of hotness or coldness is a relative term, right? For example, if I place my hand on a on a steel, right, on a steel plate, I have something in my mind, right? That all right, this is a moderate temperature. This is a temperature that I consider that it will not harm my hands, right? Above the temperature, I consider it hot. Below this temperature, I consider it cold, right? So coldness and hotness are relative term, right? And they are relative because we must have a reference point. Now, temperature and heat, these two are different things. All right, we are not going into detail, but the temperature value, right? The normal physiological, not normal physiological, what like we think what is temperature? We give a very simple, right, definition. We say temperature is the degree of hotness and coldness of our body. That's an old temperature, right? That's a classical definition. But temperature is the measure of average kinetic energy of the particles in a substance, right? It tells you how fast, on average, of course, the molecules are moving. Heat, on the other hand, is energy in transfer, right? It flows from an hotter object to a colder one because of a temperature difference. So you must keep this in your mind, that temperature is the measure of average kinetic energy of all the particles, right? So what's my body temperature? My body temperature is the measure of my average kinetic energy of all the particles that are present inside my body, right? And that, like, now again, your next question should be like, temperature, we measure temperature in Celsius or Fahrenheit or Kelvin, right? But we measure energy in joules and in calories and in urge different, etc., right? So why we are not measuring temperature in joules and calories and these units of energy, if we are giving, if we are saying that temperature is the measure of average kinetic energy of particles? Now this is not my topic today, right? This is a mathematical topic, right? And it is related to chemistry. But I think you can just search it out and you will find that why we are doing this conflict. All right. So your body thinks that, all right, it's cold, I should do something in order to increase my body temperature. So what they do, it induces some responses. For example, some physiological responses. Vasoconstriction happens, blood vessels narrow, right? And I'm talking about superficial blood vessels, and superficial blood vessels that are present in my, that are superficial to my skin, that I can see. Just roll up your sleeve of your arm and see the blue lines, right, that are running on your forearm, right? These blue lines are your veins, right? So in these veins, what happens? Vasoconstriction happens, blood vessels narrow, and heat losses, like less heat loss happens, because now blood, as we know that they are different function of my blood. One of the function of my blood is to transfer heat from one body part to another body part. So blood is also transferring heat. So when vasoconstriction will happen, less blood will flow and less heat will loss. Second physiological response that can occur, like shivering. Your muscles start to contract rapidly, not rapidly, just your muscles just start to contract, right, to generate heat. There is an increase in basal metabolism to generate more heat. There is a reduce in sweating, right? There are some psychological responses as well, some behavioral responses as well, like you start feeling cold or chills, right? You start seeking blankets, right? You start curling up, right? You just your brain tells your body that, all right, I should, just just do some running, or do some warm up, so that my muscles contract and relax, and they generate heat, and that heat increases my body's temperature, because your body is now thinking that you are cold, right? So this is the reason, this is the mechanism, the basic mechanism, of course, the brief mechanism, that what is happening when a pathogen has entered inside your body. Now, next question that should arise in your mind, right? And that's the whole reason of this video. Why is it happening? So let me just write it down here. Let me just write it down. Why is my body's temperature increasing? Now, why is my body's temperature increasing? Here's an important thing. A pathogen has entered inside your body, right? Now, the response, your body should react in a way to favor my body's soldiers, right? These are by my white blood cells. My body's response should be in favor of my white blood cells, and it should be against the pathogen, right? So my body should react to support my white blood cells. This is exactly what your body is doing right now. First of all, better oxygen delivery to tissues is very important, because oxygen is important for like my tissue will use that oxygen to generate energy, right, in electron transport chain. And when energy will be produced, this energy will be used, like for example, my white blood cells will use that energy in phagocytosis, right, in destroying the, and in engulfing, injecting the pathogen, right? So oxygen delivery should increase, and this is exactly where I think it's important to bring Le Chatelier's principle. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this French name correctly or not, but Le Chatelier's Le Chatelier principle. Now, according to this principle, if a dynamic equilibrium is distributed, right, by changing conditions like concentration, pressure, or temperature, this system shifts to its equilibrium position to counter-react, right, to counteract the change and re-establish the balance. This system will counteract the change and re-establish the balance. For example, let me give you an example that hemoglobin, when combines with oxygen, it combines with 4 oxygen molecules because it has 4 chains. It's an exothermic reaction, meaning to say heat is released and form oxyhemoglobin. 4 oxygen molecules combine. Now, this is the forward reaction. The backward reaction is endothermic, meaning to say it requires heat. According to Le Chatelier's principle, according to Le Chatelier principles, my if temperature is increased, then my system should counteract it and re-establish the balance. In order to re-establish the balance, that is in order to re-establish the equilibrium, the forward reaction should now go backward, because backward reaction is endothermic. When the temperature is increasing, the heat will be used, right, and hemoglobin will use that heat to, and oxygen will be dissociated. Oxyhemoglobin, this is oxyhemoglobin, right? The oxyhemoglobin will dissociate oxygen. Oxygen will be liberated to the tissues, of course, and to the cells, and the heat will be used in this process. And so the heat and the temperature that was increasing will decrease, right? So this is what Le Chatelier's principle. This is the first reason why my body is increasing its temperature. in order to liberate more oxygen, in order to dissociate more oxygen to the tissues, more oxygen will be liberated, right? The cell will use that oxygen to produce energy, to generate energy, to generate ATP, and that ATP will be used by my white blood cells in order to fight against the pathogens, right? That's so amazing, right? That's so amazing that, and it can only be understand with the help of Le Chatelier's principle. That was the first reason. Coming up next is Arrhenius equation. Arrhenius principle, by the way. Yeah, Arrhenius principle. Now, according to this Arrhenius principle, I'm not going um, to talk about it in detail, but according to this mathematical equation, when the temperature increases, the rate of reaction increases, right? So temperature increase, rate of reaction also increases. Temperature increases, rate of reaction increases. This is what Arrhenius equation is about, right? So it's just related to your body. When the temperature is increasing, right, there is faster immune reactions, right? There is a why faster immune reactions? Because of course there is a faster metabolic reactions inside the cell. But again, this should be kept in your mind that this is up to a particular limit. If I draw a graph, if I draw this graph, then because my body has proteins and protein denature at up to a particular point, so I'm increasing my temperature and rate of reaction. This is rate of reaction here on y-axis, and this is temperature on x-axis. When temperature is increasing, rate of reaction is increasing up to a particular point, and after that particular point my rate of reaction is decreasing. Why? Because this after this point we have denaturation of proteins, right? My proteins, my enzymes, my cellular components have started denaturating, have started degrading, in simple word, right? And what is degeneration? We will talk about this in another video because it's very amazing. All right, this is Arrhenius equation. So when rate of temperature increases up to particular point, up to the particular limit, that limit is optimum temperature, right? Optimum temperature, at the temperature at which the rate of reaction is maximum. After that temperature, if we further increase the temperature, then the rate of reaction will decrease, right? Up to the particular temperature, the rate of reaction increases. This is Arrhenius equation. Arrhenius equation does not say that up to particular point, it's just say that when temperature increases, rate of reaction increases. But because we are talking about my biological body, and my biological body will act in certain way, so that's why that was the second reason. Now the third important reason, that's very important. All right, that's very important. Let me use a different color for it. Iron availability. Now, as we all know, we human need iron. All right, if our diet is iron deficient, then we will most probably you will see paler, right? And you will you will get iron deficiency anemia, right? Your conjunctiva will become paler, right? Etc. These all are the different things. Glossitis can occur, etc., etc. So iron is very important, not just for us but also for pathogens, because the our pathogens uh, must use the iron, right? For example, for cytochromes, right? For cytochrome synthesis, cytochromes have heme group, and for heme synthesis we need iron. If iron availability to the pathogen is somehow decrease, right? Iron will not be available, and my pathogen will not be able to use that iron uh, to make different iron proteins, to make heme, to make cytochromes, and my pathogen will not be able to do the electron transport chain, right? Meaning to say, my pathogen, my enemy, will not be able to produce ATP, and without ATP, of course, its cellular component will start slowing down. So that's extremely important as well. So pathogen need iron to grow. What happened during fever? Your body reduces free iron. By how it reduces the free iron? By increasing iron binding proteins like ferritin. Ferritin is the protein that is present inside your cytoplasm that stores iron. Right? This ferritin binding protein it increases, right? Iron binding proteins increases, more iron is stored, less free iron is available, like locking iron inside cells. Less free iron available, bacteria struggle to multiply. And again, there are some other reason of why is my body temperature is increasing. For example, direct inhibition of pathogens. Many bacteria and viruses prefer normal body temperature. Higher temperatures slow their replication, can damage their enzymes, etc. But this was the main reason. Now if I talk about this graph, then you can just see this first reason, where I have given you the reason why my body temperature is increasing with the help of Le Chatelier's principle. Now this is the graph. As you can see, in hypothermia, and this is that was hyperthermia, and that's hypothermia. Just see this 50 millimeter mercury partial pressure of oxygen. As you can see, in hypothermia, the hemoglobin saturation, and at hyperthermia, the hemoglobin saturation. So at the same partial pressure of oxygen, hemoglobin saturation is lower in higher temperature, in hyperthermia, as compared to normal temperature and as compared to hypothermia. Meaning to say, for example, and importantly, at partial pressure 100, let's see, just 100, it's very is very simply it's very simple. Now temperature, what I'm trying to say, temperature affects the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. When temperature increases in hyperthermia, hemoglobin affinity for oxygen decreases. Why? Because of the Le Chatelier's principle that we have just talked about. Hemoglobin affinity for oxygen decreases. And by the way, this is what Bohr effect is, right? Bohr effect and Haldane effect. These two are very important. But this is exactly what Bohr effect is. So hemoglobin affinity for oxygen decreases, curve shift to right. In hyperthermia, the curve shift to right, and more oxygen is released to tissue. And if more oxygen is released, then hemoglobin saturation, the hemoglobin that is saturated, that is binded with oxygen, decreases, right? And the curve shifts to right. In hypothermia, hemoglobin affinity for oxygen increases, right? Why? Because we have hypothermia, right? And so it will prefer oxygen binding with hemoglobin, not dissociation. So hemoglobin affinity for oxygen increases, curve shift to left. As a result, hemoglobin hold oxygen more tightly, less oxygen is released to tissues, right? That was the key concept that I want to talk about. Now here's the last thing, why we clinically, why Fahrenheit is sometimes used clinically, and why I think Fahrenheit scale should be used, right? So Fahrenheit scale, in Fahrenheit scale, let me just write it down. In Fahrenheit, we have 1 Fahrenheit is almost equal to 0.56 Celsius. So small temperature changes look bigger on scale, right? And it become easier to notice small fever trend in everyday use, right? So for example, a change from 98 Fahrenheit to 99 Fahrenheit is more noticeable than 36.7 to 37.2 degrees Celsius, right? So that's one of the reason. And in the US, medical systems were built around Fahrenheit early on, right? And hospitals, thermometers, patient records were standardized in Fahrenheit, right? So that's one of the reason. So I think Fahrenheit should be used clinically because easier to notice subtle, easier to notice small fever trends in everyday use. So yeah, that was the whole topic. Why pyrexia happens, right? Why it's important, what's its mechanism, and each and everything. So see you in the next video with another concept.